Welcome to the Stoic Responder Podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Healy. As a special agent who spent more than 15 years conducting large-scale fraud, money laundering, and public corruption investigations, Stoic philosophy provided a mindset edge that became the foundation of my professional success. My mission today is to share those same ancient mindset lessons with you so that you can turn obstacles into opportunities and adversity into advantage. Time to muster up.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Stoic Responder Podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Healy, and this is episode 69. The title of this episode is True Freedom. Folks, before we get started with a quote and some integration of some Stoic lessons, let me start you out with a reminder to support my favorite 501c3, the Overwatch Collective. They are a nonprofit podcast funding therapy sessions and supporting mental health initiatives for our first responders, our veterans, and their families. The motto over there is one more is one less, and I take that to heart because one more individual we can provide services to is one less statistic. Check them out at theoverwatchcollective.com and support them if you can. I also would love for you to support Blue Badge Coffee Company. The mission of Blue Badge Coffee Company is to provide customers with the absolute best, highest quality premium coffee that their money can buy. But their secondary mission is to take a portion of each and every sale and donate it to law enforcement agencies around our great nation to assist them in funding and or maintaining peer support and wellness programs for their officers. These programs are super critical and crucial for the physical and mental well-being of hard-working officers in the law enforcement agencies that serve your community. So if you want to support those officers and you want to support a great company that's providing some great premium coffee, go over to bluebadgecoffee.com, pick up some merch, pick up some coffee. You won't regret it. All right, folks, let me start you out with a long quote from Marcus Aurelius. We had 3 Epictetus quotes to start the week, but we're moving on to the good Emperor Marcus Aurelius. All right. It is like seeing roasted meat and other dishes in front of you and suddenly realizing this is a dead fish, a dead bird, a dead pig, or that this noble vintage wine is simply rotted grapes. Perceptions like that, latching onto things and piercing through them to see what they really are, to strip away the legend that encrusts them. All right, this is kind of complicated, so I'm going to do my best to dumb it down. Not for you, but for me, because I need things dumbed down. So what is he saying here? He's saying roasted meat, other dishes in front of you, right? You're going to the Palms, you're going to the Waldorf Astoria, you're going to whatever fancy steakhouse or restaurant. I don't know. Name Bohannon's in San Antonio, which incidentally is incredible. But let's say you're having dinner at Bohannon's and you're having your $100 steak. You've got just a awesome like old fashioned made with Eagle Rare or Blanton's or some just fantastic pre-prohibition era recipe. You're just having the time of your life. You just this great steak, great drink, great company. And you think that you're living pretty high on the hog. And then you realize at some point, you recognize or understand that this thing in front of me, all of this is just a dead fish. This is just fermented barley and rye and corn and wheat or whatever it is. I mean, I know the mash bill of some bourbons, but I don't know what Blanton's is. But anyway, and you have this recognition or this realization that what's in front of me, when you strip away all of the fuss around it, it's just what it is. It's just sustenance, right? That's all it is. It doesn't have to be this big, elaborate affair. You see, what is the world around you when you strip the values that you place upon it away from it? What is your badge? Your badge. I don't know if I have one on the wall behind me. It's just a stamped piece of metal, right? That's it. It's just a piece of stamped metal. What is your authority as a law enforcement officer? It's just words on a piece of paper. It's just words that somebody wrote and turned into law. But that's all it is. It's words. Your authority is words. You don't actually have any authority beyond that which is granted to you by someone else's words. Fancy meals, designer clothes, that custom motorcycle or pickup truck that you've had your eye on, their value is all created by your perceptions, your judgments, your emotions, the societal norms that attach to them. In other words, it's all illusory, right? All value that you place on something is illusory. To see the world that it really is, that's what Marcus is really talking about here. He's like, let's see the world as it really is, instead of this illusory sort of place of assigned values, right? Let's see what it really is. Let's transcend this superficial. Let's dive into the true essence of things. And by doing that, roasted meat just becomes a representation of the life that was sacrificed in order for you to gain that sustenance. A noble vintage, be it a 15-year-old bourbon or a noble vintage of wine, upon closer examination, it's just the component parts. It reveals the reality of rotted grapes or of a sour map of corn and barley and rye and wheat, right? When we engage in this form of perception, instead of the superficial, instead of the illusory, we begin to penetrate the veneer of appearances and we start to see the truth beneath something, beneath a thing, an object. And by doing that, that's how we get to let go of some of these preconceived notions, these societal constructs that we have to deal with and work through every single day. And when we do that, we can do away with the emotional attachments about these things, right? It's so hard for so many of us. And it was hard for me to leave a job. It was hard for me to leave my law enforcement career because, in large part, the authority that I held. I held authority within my agency among those I worked with who saw me as an authority figure on certain types of cases. I had a certain, air about me. I carried myself with a certain confidence, with an ego about that. But it's all illusory because the authority that I had, again, just words on a sheet of paper. Just you put your hand up and you read this piece of paper that says, I will protect and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, That's words. It's words on a piece of paper. And now I am given the authority to do the thing. Right? The badge, again, a piece of stamped metal. It's all illusory. It's a veneer of appearances. The truth beneath them is much more rudimentary. So when we begin to let go of those preconceived notions, those societal constructs, those emotional attachments about these things, about the job, about the authority, about whatever it is, we can see them for what they really are. The less value and emotion typically we assign to the superficial, to the illusory, the closer we get to a life journey that actually values virtues, that actually values the internal over the external. Because all of these things I'm describing, these are external things, right? The fancy meals, the rewards of the hard work are the external, the illusory, the superficial. But if that hard work that you're doing isn't building that inner citadel, it isn't building the values that you hold, it isn't building your character, it isn't making you more virtuous, then it is all superficial. Kind of a mind game, right? Like next time you sit down for dinner, think about that. Think about what something is at its component parts. You can be a foodie. I consider myself a bit of a foodie. I was at Epcot at the Food and Wine Festival this past weekend. I was in Florida. I was doing something, taking care of our condo. I decided to go over to Epcot, walk around, enjoy the Food and Wine Festival. I like good food. I like a fancy meal. My wife is getting ready to go to an event where she had to order some fancy designer clothing and shoes, to fit in with this crowd at this event. But again, it's all illusory. None of that stuff really matters. Those are conforming to expectations, societal norms. Those are created by our perceptions of things. To see the world as it really is, we have to transcend all of that. We have to dive into our true essence, and we have to live as virtuous individuals who put as much or more emphasis on those things internal to us as we do on all of these superficial and illusory things that we deal with on a daily basis. That is the challenge. That's the challenge. You might think you made it because you're having a steak dinner, and a nice pour of Weller 107 or something at Bohannon Steakhouse in San Antonio, and you're wearing your finest clothes and your finest designer clothes and everything else, and you're just all dudded out. You might think you really made it, but all those things are societal constructs. They're emotional attachments. They don't reveal anything about you as a human being, as a person. The less value and emotion you assign to those superficial items, the closer your journey becomes to being a virtuous, character-driven, value-led individual. So start practicing that. When you sit down and you're starting to feel pretty big on your high horse, start asking yourself, what is the true nature of this thing in front of me? So we'll leave you with a journal prompt for the week, and hopefully this gives you some perspective that you can use. Take out your Big Chief notebook, take out your pen, take out your pencil, write this down. What are the things that I desire when I see them? What are these things truly? Maybe I could write that in a better way. Now, what things do I what is the true nature of the things that I desire? What's the true nature of the things that I desire? In other words, write down, I desire that promotion. What's the true nature of that thing? Stripped of all its pomp and circumstance, what is the true nature of that thing? I desire this vehicle, this particular vehicle. What is the true nature of that thing? I desire this pair of shoes. I desire fill in the blank. And write down what the true nature of that thing is. Remove some of the emotion, remove some of the societal construct around that, and see it for what it truly is. Start practicing that on a daily basis. And I believe that if you do, you will start putting less of your emotions and your concerns to those things and more into living a virtuous and valorous life. Folks, we will be back next week. Until then, if you'd like to pick up some more information about Stoicism, there's a few ways that you can do it. You can pick up a copy of my book. You can get it on Amazon Prime and have it this weekend. It will be shipped to you in like 2 days. In Valor, 365 Stoic Meditations for First Responders. Again, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, anywhere you get your books. I think it's on Apple Books. I've had some people buy it there. It's a great resource for law enforcement and first responders, or for anyone who wants to practice this philosophy daily. It's going to give you quotes, contextualization. It's going to be directly relatable to what you do on a daily basis. And some of the journal prompts and action items, like the one I just gave you, are great ways to practice this philosophy. They're great ways to kind of take the lesson and integrate it. So I would highly recommend that you pick that up. Number 2, you can go over to the stoicresponder.substack.com. You can sign up to receive this podcast for free in your email, and also get my weekly newsletters with Stoic leadership and personal development tips. I promise not to spam your email. I send out 4 podcasts a week, and typically 1, sometimes 2 newsletters a week. And all it does is give you value. It's completely free. You can, of course, make a donation if you want to while you're over there, but you don't have to. It's a completely free service that I offer to help you get some more Stoicism into your life. And finally, if you could do me one huge favor, like, share, and subscribe this podcast with others so that they can find it and learn what we are doing here. That would be a big help to me. But thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week with a couple more episodes. Until then, you are out of roll.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to subscribe, like, rate, and share this podcast so that we can spread the benefits of Stoicism to other first responders. It will only take you a few moments, but it can help us tremendously. Until next time, out of roll.